The headlines on October 20th, 2025, were stark. EU-ASEAN trade talks collapse in Prague. The world watched in disbelief as the news spread rapidly across continents, signaling a major setback for global diplomacy. In the historic Chernin Palace, where centuries of diplomacy had unfolded, diplomats now faced a wall of misunderstanding that seemed insurmountable. European negotiators, precise and direct in their approach, clashed with Southeast Asian delegates, whose indirect, deferential style was misread as evasive or even uncooperative. The cultural gap widened with every exchange. The negotiations, meant to unite two economic giants and foster a new era of cooperation, instead fractured over language, intent, and unspoken expectations. Accusations of arrogance and inflexibility filled the air, echoing through the grand halls and into the headlines. Ambassador Helena Strauss of Germany, a master of logic and data, watched her carefully constructed methods fail before her eyes, leaving her feeling powerless. Her arguments, crafted with care and precision, fell flat. She realized she was speaking a different language, not of words, but of meaning and intent. The dream of a landmark trade deal dissolved into mistrust and disappointment, leaving both sides questioning the future. The media called it a clash of civilizations, amplifying the sense of division and loss on the world stage. For Helena, the cold Prague air mirrored the chill in international relations, a stark reminder of what was at stake. She stared at the city, questioning where it all went wrong, replaying every conversation and gesture in her mind. The answer, she would soon learn, was not in the content of their discussions, but in the soul and spirit of their words, the unspoken meanings that bridged or broke trust. The cost was more than lost trade. It was lost trust, a wound that would take years to heal. The bridge between continents was crumbling, and only understanding could rebuild it. That evening, a cultural gala was meant to close the summit, a grand affair that promised to be a celebration of unity and shared purpose. However, the mood was unexpectedly somber. Most delegates had already left, their minds preoccupied with unresolved issues and lingering tensions. Yet, a few remained, drawn by the promise of a performance by the University of Santo Tomas singers, a renowned Filipino choir. The choir sang a simple yet profoundly moving Filipino lullaby, Sa Ugoy ng Duyan, without any translation, allowing the music to speak for itself. As their harmonious voices filled the grand hall, the tension that had gripped the room began to melt away, replaced by a sense of calm and peace. The music spoke directly to the heart, bypassing the barriers of language and logic, reaching a place words could not. Diplomats who had been locked in fierce debates all day found themselves unexpectedly moved, their defenses lowered by the raw emotion of the performance. Helena Strauss, a seasoned diplomat, felt tears sting her eyes, a rare moment of vulnerability in her otherwise composed demeanor. The choir's power lay not in technical perfection, but in their vulnerability and sincerity, which resonated deeply with the audience. For those 10 minutes, adversaries became simply people, united by a shared experience that transcended their differences. The applause that followed was thunderous, genuine, and transformative, a testament to the choir's unexpected impact. In that moment, the choir achieved what countless negotiations could not: true human connection. Helena realized that the true power was not in argument or persuasion, but in offering oneself openly and sincerely. The lesson lingered in the air. Sometimes, the heart speaks louder than words, bridging gaps that seemed insurmountable. As the gala ended, a new understanding had begun to take root, leaving attendees with a sense of hope and possibility. The seed of change was planted, promising a future where diplomacy could be guided by empathy and shared humanity. Still haunted by the choir's profound impact on her, Ambassador Helena Strauss made an unusual request. She asked for a posting to Manila, the vibrant heart of the Philippines. She was determined to immerse herself in the culture that had mastered such powerful, emotional communication, hoping to unravel its secrets firsthand. Her colleagues back home were baffled by her decision, unable to understand why she'd leave a comfortable post for the unknown. But for Helena, this was more than a career move. It was a necessary journey of discovery. Manila greeted her with a rush of sensations, chaotic, vibrant, and utterly unpredictable. The city pulsed with life at every corner, its energy both exhilarating and overwhelming. She quickly noticed that meetings here were unlike any she'd known. They were informal, with flexible agendas, and conversations that meandered through stories, laughter, and respectful honorifics. At first, Helena found this deeply frustrating. Her direct Western style clashed with the local preference for subtlety and relationship building. The turning point came unexpectedly, when a local official responded to her carefully prepared, data-driven pitch, not with facts, but with a heartfelt story about his grandmother's garden. As she listened, Helena realized the story was a metaphor for patience and nurturing, an invitation to connect on an emotional level, not just an intellectual one. That night, gazing out over the Manila skyline, Helena finally understood. In the Philippines, relationships weren't just important, they were the very foundation of all business and diplomacy. Trust and rapport weren't mere pleasantries, they were essential, the invisible threads that held everything together. In contrast, she realized, Western efficiency often skipped this crucial human step, focusing on results over relationships. Her Manila awakening was humbling. She saw that her communication toolkit was incomplete, missing the art of connection and empathy. She had come to study acquire, but instead discovered a new philosophy, one that valued connection over mere conclusion and heart over haste. The lesson was clear and profound. Humanity must come first, business second. Only then could true understanding and progress be achieved. Gradually, her approach began to change. She listened more, shared stories, and built genuine relationships with those around her. The journey had just begun, and Helena knew she was only at the start of a much deeper transformation. Immersed in Filipino culture, Helena identified the roots of their unique communication. Warmth was genuine, smiles, first names, and shared meals blurred personal and professional lines. Presence mattered. Filipinos listened intently, making others feel seen and valued. This was pakikipagkapwa-tao, seeing the other as an equal. Humility was key, self-deprecating humor and modesty built rapport, not competition. Sincerity flowed from this humility, making words authentic and trustworthy. Emotional connection was embraced, not avoided. Stories and metaphors conveyed feeling, not just information. The choir's secret in Prague was sharing emotion, not making arguments. Western diplomacy often stripped out emotion, believing it led to clarity. The Filipino way showed that emotion was the path to understanding. Helena saw that true connection required vulnerability. The art of communication was, above all, human. Helena's greatest lessons came from Manila's daily life, not official meetings. Riding jeepneys, she saw strangers form chains of trust, sharing money and stories. A street singer's song united passengers in a moment of shared emotion. In San Agustin Church, Sister Agnes taught her the power of gentle, personal inquiry. The nun's stories weren't diversions, they were invitations to connect. Mang Lito, the embassy janitor, reminded her to value her own well-being over work. His simple wisdom, "Your heart is more important," stayed with her. These encounters rewired Helena's approach. Connection was not a technique, but a way of being. The Filipino style was lived, not learned. It was rooted in a belief in the interconnectedness of all people. On the streets, in churches, and workplaces, humanity came first. Helena's perspective shifted from efficiency to empathy. The city itself became her greatest teacher. Helena's transformation caught the attention of fellow diplomats. She organized secret workshops in Malate, Manila, for those seeking a new approach. No PowerPoints, just immersive experiences led by Filipino poets, actors, and community leaders. Diplomats learned storytelling, sharing personal anecdotes before negotiations. Deep listening exercises challenged them to be present, not just strategic. The most powerful lesson came from living with local families, experiencing hospitality firsthand. These workshops shattered the old abstract view of diplomacy. Participants returned with new skills and a new sense of shared humanity. The Malate workshops became a quiet revolution in international relations. Diplomacy was no longer just about deals, but about connection. Helena's transformation was profound. Once a fortress of precision, she became open and warm. Her language shifted from demands to suggestions, from objectives to genuine questions. She smiled more, listened deeply, and read the emotional temperature of the room. Stories and metaphors replaced cold data. She built trust before making arguments. Her new approach disarmed opponents and inspired allies. She integrated intellect with emotional intelligence. True influence, she learned, came from connection, not compulsion. Helena Strauss became a wise connector. Her presence, not her arguments, was now her greatest asset. 2 years after Prague, the EU and ASEAN met again. This time in Manila, tension was high, but Helena Strauss led the EU delegation. The summit began with cautious, formal statements. Helena set aside her notes and spoke from the heart. She shared the story of the Filipino choir, her Manila lessons, and the people who changed her. She admitted past mistakes, acknowledging how directness could seem arrogant. "We came to Prague to talk about trade," she said, "but forgot to talk as people." Her speech, just 10 minutes, transformed the room. The ASEAN lead negotiator responded in kind, setting aside his own script. Mistrust began to dissolve. Formal sessions gave way to small circles of storytelling and rapport building. Delegates found common ground in shared hopes, not just legal clauses. A week later, the historic EU-ASEAN partnership was signed. The agreement was built on connection, not just contracts. The Filipino art of diplomacy had changed the world. Helena's journey had come full circle. The soul of words had bridged continents. The Manila Summit's success shocked the diplomatic world. Helena Strauss, with EU and ASEAN support, founded the Manila Institute for Empathic Communication. The institute's radical curriculum focused on deep listening, storytelling, and humility. Training was immersive. No lectures, just real human connection. Diplomats from around the world came skeptical, left transformed. The Manila method became a new gold standard in diplomacy. Its graduates resolved conflicts once thought impossible. The Institute's legacy, true power, lies in compassion. In her final address, Helena said, "The world has enough brilliant arguments. What it needs are more sincere connections. In the heart of another, you will find the path to peace."